as well. Maybe you can also tap on the touchscreen that we have an editorial cartoon there from the Daily Nation, where we can see the ethics and anti-corruption. Or before you even head there, the Standard is very, very key today when it comes to the editorial cartoon that we have when we come to electing our leaders as well, that we want also to pose to a panelist as we're discussing that, right? Allow me just to walk over there so that I can help you share with it. In the Standard, and it's all about ethical leadership, right? Allow me just to come to where you are, Usha. I show you where it is. Here we go. And this is what we want to discuss about today. Look, this has been drawn by Gado today. And these are some of your leaders that you want to elect. Vote for him. Isn't he a criminal and a convicted thug? This is a probing question from the journalist. And of course, the voter is saying he's our convicted thug, right? You can see the person with the bling bling there and the dollar signs all around. Also, we can see that one is asking the female voter, well, she is our own crook. Then we can see, so she is our ordained thief as well. Kura kwa bishop. One of our bishop also has been arraigned in court recently. And you can see also a thug there. Yeah, he is our drug lord. Kura kwa sultan. Kura kwa sultan. Usha. And then this is just what we were talking about this morning with Usha as well. But I want just to throw it to a panelist. Let's begin with Polycarp, first of all. What do you think about today's editorial cartoon?
You know, you've got to give it to the cartoonists. They really know how to push it. But what they're saying is factual. I think we must ask ourselves, when we go to the vote this time round, there's not enough preaching. Why do we choose people who cannot do the job? We basically go to choose people who will only serve an exclusive constituency. I think that is an individual question. It's a question I'm asking of myself, and I'm inviting the rest of Kenyans to ask it at an individual level, because that cartoon is truly, truly challenging, and it's a crisis. But having said that, we've seen also very genuine, good people come across, especially through the primaries. We've seen excellent people who contribute. I saw a gentleman who's a cook in a school. I saw a small medium business person elected. So we need that balance. But at the national level, especially at governor level, we really need to get this message.
Mm-hmm. Right. Thank you. Right. We shall be discussing this with the panelist. Usha, thank you. This is what you will be electing. Of course, we'll be asking the probing questions as journalists, and we'll give you that particular chance also to elect your leaders. Flora, what do you think about today's editorial cartoon in the Standard?
It's interesting. It's interesting. Like he says, they're really pushing it. But for me, I look at it as a very sad situation, because by the time you're saying that is my convicted thug, there's something you're connecting with that person. Is it you're choosing him because maybe you know him? Mm-hmm. Is there a favor you're going to get? As opposed to looking at a bigger picture. So for me, it's a very short-sighted approach. Because looking at a bigger picture, you want somebody who will use your resources properly. You want somebody who will prioritize the issue in your community properly. You want somebody who will push national policies that will take you to a better place. So looking at this short-term gain, perhaps because I can get access to this person, or I know this person, or it is important to have my person sitting in parliament representing my area. Whoever you choose will still come from your area. It might not be somebody you know, but choosing somebody ethical for me is more a long-term approach. And it saddens me that people want to see such a short view. All
right. And Kiprono, you ask a very interesting question. That's what will people say at the end of my tenure? Looking at that particular editorial cartoon, if we may just have it. Of course, we can see some of the leaders there. We can't mention their names, but of course it's up to you to know who they are, right? What will you say at the end of their tenure when it comes to August the 8th, 2017? Some of these leaders. This is some of the grid that we say we should be passing through, especially with the leadership and integrity chapter of the Constitution. Please, let's have the editorial cartoon. So the issue is, even right now, we have the Kenya National Human Rights Commission who have moved to court to get an advisory opinion on the leadership and integrity, chapter 6 of the Constitution. You say that we should fault the Constitution because it has not really espoused or really shown what an ethical leader should be. So,
Debarl, I think it's a brilliant cartoon, and it really captures the situation that Kenya is faced with today. Polycarp earlier said that we have a leadership crisis. I want to add that we also have a crisis of those being led. Because we who are led, and really the best leaders in Kenya are actually not in politics because they find it too murky. And the reality is we are now left with nothing but what we are seeing on the screen there today. I would say 80% of our political class is actually caricatured by that cartoon today. And for me, I want to go back to what I stated in my presentation, that we need to go back to our ideological foundation. We need to go back to our value system. We need to stop being that society where the end justifies the means. We need to stop the glorification of wealth despite where it comes from. And I think those things are not easy to achieve, and it really takes a top-down approach. I do know that President Kenyatta, for example, is one leader who really wants the best for this country. But it's very difficult for him to push that agenda when the very institutions that are supposed to help him deliver that are completely compromised. I mean, we haven't, as a country, supported institutions that are supposed to ensure that we end up with better leaders. And having said that, I mean, and I'm talking about the institutions, all those leaders that you see today have gone through all the checks. They have received their clearances from ethics and anti-corruption. They have received their clearances from the KRA. How do they achieve all that when everybody knows exactly what they're up about?
Good. So looking at the 4 V's that you gave us, Phyllis, are they visionary, right? When you talk about virtues, do they embody any virtue in terms of integrity, and when you talk about morality and values as well? When we look at when you look also at their voice, right? I don't know what you'll explain to us what you actually mean by the voice. Do they really speak to, or do their voice really resonate with wananchi, or there's a wide berth, you know, between them and wananchi as well?
That cartoon is quite interesting. I've looked at it and really smiled. Something that has been said is, show me the heroes the youth of your country look up to, and we can show you the future of your country. If you look at the population today, we have 16 million voters going to vote on August the 8th, and 60% of them are going to be aged between 18 and 35. So if our youth look up to people who are not ethical, that's the kind of leadership we get, and that's the future we have as a country. So for me, this is really a challenge to all of us. As we go out and vote, what kind of leaders are we going to vote for? Are we going to look at people because they are our thug, as it said there, our own crook? Or are we going to elect leaders who are ethical, who have the values, who have the virtue, who have the voice, who speak to the societal needs that are affecting us today and are ready to live up and deliver the promises that they make? Because where we've reached, we look at wealth. If you go to the village, I was in the village on leave the week before the nominations, and leaders were driving around handing over 50,000, so the villagers would run out and collect the 50,000 and go back to their homes. And for me, it was a sad situation, because that means that we're not going to vet these leaders that are standing up for political office. We're going to make decisions either based on how much they gave us, how wealthy they are, how popular they are, but not really because of the values they stand up for. So I hope the conversation we're having today is going to resonate with the people, and we're going to sit back and ask, when someone comes to speak to you about being elected, you ask them, what issues are you going to address? When you become a leader, what will you promise to do so that we hold you accountable? Otherwise, we will have a very sad situation, and our country will not get to where it needs to get to.
Right.
Because as the voters, we need to hold leaders accountable.
You talk of selling your soul. Yeah, a leader who doesn't really sell his soul. What do you really mean by a leader who doesn't really sell his soul?
Well, let me give you. Remember 21st September 2013 when Westgate was attacked? If you go down that story, you wonder where these terrorists were getting their ammunition from. But cut a long story short, there was somebody who had subcontracted a shop inside Westgate to allow these people to come. Is that not selling your soul? When you're a soldier and you've been assigned to take care of Hulugo border post, and you allow a couple of Al-Shabaab terrorists to come through because they've given you 100,000 shillings, because some people have done that.
Yes.
When I, as a chief executive, accept a few million shillings,
yes,
and I collapse a company as important as Vivo that employs thousands of people, what have I done? That is what is called selling your soul. And I think I want to pick up on Kiprono's challenge. this morning and admit we Kenyans have sold our souls. When this cartoon is just telling us, the cartoonist is telling us, you have sold your souls, Kenyans. You have completely sold your souls. And the worst thing is the people who sell their souls the most are the ones who preach about the souls.
Yes.
You know, when I go to a building and I see this is a not, what do they say? This is a corruption-free zone, I always shudder. Or if you start with a big religious line, I shudder. And I think good people are doing nothing. We have elected to do nothing. We are not standing up to be counted. We are not in the ground, which they call the ground, with the followers to activate it. We have abdicated. And I think there's nothing worse than a country that sells its soul, because in geopolitics today, there's a second scramble of Africa. You have China here, you have Japan here, you have America here, you have Russia here. These people just come and buy our souls and make us colonizers again if we are not careful. If we can't, 54 years after independence, our generation can't say we will do the right thing, then we are really in trouble. But let me close by saying it's not lost because we have done well over time. So there is a class of us, there is a number of people out there who are doing the best but totally suffering. If you go to very many institutions, and I've worked in private sector in very many companies, every company I've joined, the best people, the most honest ones were the most frustrated. And I can say that also about our civil service. If you look at some of the high integrity people, they are the most frustrated, they are the most put down, they are the most unacknowledged people. And if that is the same in private sector, is the same in civil society. How have we let all these people who sell souls take it, lord it over us? Is a question we have to ask ourselves.
Thank you.
How do we fight back?
How do we fight back? Question of upbringing, right? It all begins with our formative years. Do we need to question that when we're asking about ethical leaders?
Yes, I believe we do. I believe we need, and more importantly, I'm of the firm belief that children do not bring up themselves. We bring up the youth. So as a parent, you've always got to be very careful, like it was said by one of my counterparts. What are they seeing? What is following them? What example are we leading? And one of the the tenets of a good leader is somebody who leads by example. So it actually is very embarrassing for us to sit here, look at a cartoon like that, and maybe some of us are not doing enough about it. What can we do? Have we stood up to say, are we sure this is the right person? Have we stood up to say the value that was put in chapter 6 it was? Are we saying, how are we promoting this? How are we driving this? But perhaps no, we want to sit in our comfort zone, watch what is happening happen and say, oh my, it happened. We saw it happen to one of our nation, to America the other day. But we can change this. We can change this if we actually look at what are we passing through to the children, what are the children picking up, and making sure that we change the narrative to have a better education. To have a better nation.
All right. Strengthening our institutions also is very key as well. And maybe also I should show you another editorial cartoon that we have today, and that is in the People Daily. I'll show you much later. But as I prepare to go there, maybe Kiprono can actually talk to us. Kiprono can talk to us about what you mentioned when it comes to making very crucial judgment and decisions regarding maybe your staff or regarding also your position, that you know there is an ethical issue that has come to the fore. Right now we know what is happening with Fox News and Bill O'Reilly, and how also Bill O'Reilly was really drawing in a lot of advertisement for Fox News, and they were grappling with this issue of whether they should let Bill O'Reilly go because he's been embroiled in sexual scandals as well. And they really came to defend Bill, but at the end of the day, he had to go. These are places where we can see the president also has come with very ticklish issues concerning ethical issues, corruption being one of them, and still we can see they're still twiddling their thumbs on what to do with these people.
I want to say that it is obviously very challenging when one has to make a decision that is unprofitable, that is unpopular, yes. That perhaps will lead the organization not to profit in the short run, but benefit in the longer term. I think it's more really a decision about the short-term view as opposed to the longer-term view in a situation like that. And for me, I think it should be a non-negotiable thing that one should make the decision that is based on ensuring that you have a better ethical environment. And I think as a country, that has been our huge challenge. And again, it goes back to really the value systems of the country. Mm-hmm. We must start to recognize, we must start to celebrate ethical leadership. And we do not do that. Even if we look every year, we see the government awards national honors. And it is given automatically to those in the political class and to those in high positions in the civil service. Mm-hmm. But in reality, what are we celebrating? What are those honors for? I don't think we've ever even interrogated those aspects and asked ourselves whether that should be the outcome of what we are trying to do and what are we celebrating as a country. Mm-hmm. So for me, I think it's a non-negotiable issue. I have, where I can, personally, to the best of my ability, practiced what I preach.
Thank you.